All right, guys, welcome to the Double B Show. Me, Bobby Bettler,
Me, Blaine Hunt.
and our guest for today, Mr. Robert Vater, a bowler from Wisconsin. Robert, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So you've tell us about yourself. You've been bowling for a while, bowling pretty well pretty recently.
Um, well, I've been bowling for 6 or so years. I wouldn't say I've been bowling very well recently, honestly. I guess, well, I started bowling because I saw Dude Perfect's trick shot video with Jason Belmonte, which they, I don't know, released in 2014 or something. And in fifth and sixth grade, we'd always go bowling on the last day of school. So I just kind of got into it.
And you're from Wisconsin, right?
Yes, Iowa,
Okay,
Wisconsin. We have about
got it.
1,300 people in our town. So yeah.
So as far as on the maps, like closer to like Madison, Milwaukee, kind of in the middle.
Right in the middle of Wisconsin. Um,
Okay,
there aren't,
so
there aren't too many big cities up here, but yeah.
Last July we had Junior Gold. Tell us about how it went, how you felt, your execution, et cetera, et cetera.
Um, I'd say I threw at the ball really well the first 3 days, and I was still plus at that point. And then I don't know, things started to go downhill, and a couple of those days, like 3 and 4, I felt like I threw at the ball a lot better than I scored. And then when advanced round came around, uh, I didn't really perform how I liked, and I believe I finished 111th, which was very disappointing because I finished in the top 50 before, and I saw myself doing that again, but I just didn't really get there.
You know, at Junior Gold, it's a grueling tournament. Some of the best bowlers in the world come to bowl it. So, like anytime you make the first cut, it's a great accomplishment. Wayne, is there anything else you got to add?
No, I was actually just going to mention that you guys would know more about that experience than I would. I never actually dabbled into that, as weird as it may seem. But on my side of that, in fairness, I haven't really been on the competitive side for very long, as far as like tournaments go. I mean, I was kind of just a league guy, and then we'd go bowl like a local association tournament my dad would put together, and obviously like the state tournaments. But I mean, as far as like the scholarship tours and all that stuff, I didn't really start following that until I want to say like senior year of high school. And as far as Vader goes, I actually didn't realize you hadn't been bowling that long, because I remember probably one of the first times I bowled a tournament and you had bowled it as well. I want to say you bowled me in match play and actually ended up beating me. And me and my dad had left, and we came back and we were talking about it. And he goes, he wasn't like in, every kind of two-hander deal. And like, what do you mean? And he's like, he was just kind of just soft. He was just like the softer of, the two-handed deal. I don't know if he was meaning just like rev rate, power, whatever, but he mentioned
Well,
just like you just were clean basically through the ball, and all that stuff. Not saying that Bobby isn't, but he's known Bobby a little bit longer than what you have, or than what than he's known you.
yeah, I think that was the JBST year-end event
Mm-hmm.
in 2020. So that was
Correct.
my sophomore year, I remember. And I kind of know what you're saying with the like softer kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've heard some people say, "Oh, he's the smoothest two-hander I've ever seen," or whatever. So I think that means like, I don't know. There's some two-handers where you see them, they run up there, like Alex Acosta.
Yeah, that's
You
the
kind of
first thing that
see,
came to
you
mind.
kind of see, he kind of like sprints up there, and it's not a
Mm-hmm.
bad thing. He's a really good bowler. There's just a
Correct.
lot of ways to do it, and
Right.
I personally, when I like, sixth grade or whatever. Just not too long ago. It feels like not too long ago, but when I think about it, it's been 5 years already or whatever, right? Well, I don't know. I kind of just got really intrigued with the two-handed bowling thing. And so every time I'd come home from school, I'd watch Jason Belmonte. And so I kind of like modeled my game after that. And so I'd see, well, there weren't too many two-handers in my area when I was like growing up. I was kind of the only two-hander in my district, which is like a conference or a sectional in high school bowling in Wisconsin. I was kind of the only one really. But when I'd see other two-handers, they were always all over the place on the approach. And I just, what I wanted to do, I made it my deal is I wanted to be just smooth.
Yeah, for sure. And that was the word that comes to mind with me is erratic. There's a lot of guys, even one-handed guys out there too. And I think Bobby can attest to this is
very much.
There's, I mean, like you just said, there's so many ways that you can go about it. And I personally don't believe that there's one better way than another. It's just whatever works for whoever it is at the time. But we left that tournament, and that was the topic of discussion was just how smooth and how clean, and I guess the word we mentioned was soft. And he was like, it was just kind of different. He just had like a different kind of touch. He approaches it a little bit differently. And I mean, like, again, like not to say that, Bobby doesn't or that Alex doesn't. It was just something that we hadn't, seen before. And I didn't even really know who you were at the time. So, and I honestly don't even think we've actually formally even met yet, to be honest with you.
So, Vater, you mentioned high school bowling. So you're a one-time or two-time state champion?
One time. I finished third this last year. I was realistically like one shot away from winning because, I mean, it came down to the 10th in the semifinal, and then the number one seed kind of choked and shot like 170, which I never saw myself doing. So I feel like I threw the ball terrible that day, but yeah, one time.
Vater and Blaine, are you on the same side? Are you good?
I can still hear you, yes.
Okay. Vader's kind of a little bit in and out, but we're good.
Lost you for a second.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. Shit happens.
All right.
Blaine, what else you got?
As far as like the high school bowling goes, I actually, again, never dabbled into that either. It was just whatever I was doing, on my own, basically. We never had a team. And part of that's because, and I think Vater can kind of attest to it with the whole small town deal, is we only had like 150 kids throughout my entirety of high school. So like my graduating class was like 40 some odd kids plus me. So it was pretty much just, on my own. And,
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. The only way we've like had a high school team the past couple of years is Wisconsin allows you to have a co-ed team. So we've had like 2 girls on our team every year.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, like this last year, we wouldn't have had enough, and I wouldn't have been able to bowl.
Right.
But yeah, it's a very small world.
So,
go ahead, Bobby.
So, like all three of us are bowlers. We all like our equipment, all like our bowling balls. What are some of your favorites, and some of you care to share any interesting stories or anything about that? We all love those purple balls.
Yeah, that's obviously I like the purple hammer being two-handed. Just about everybody does anyways, but I feel like over time I've been associated with the purple hammer a lot more than I actually throw it. Like in Wisconsin, sometimes when people think of the purple hammer, they think of me, but really I don't. I only throw it like when it's like opportune. one of the oddballs that like not too many other people throw. I've liked the pro motion.
As well.
I don't know. I've won a couple of JBS use of the pro motion. So I guess that's a funny like honorable mention for me.
Oh, that's very interesting. So you talk about your Jvst titles. How many you have, and like your road to get to some of those titles? How did that happen?
I have 2, and first one I won a couple of years ago when I was 16, and I thought I was young at the time. But then just last year, a 14-year-old kid won. But that tournament, I qualified second, and then I was throwing the promotion just about the whole day. And when I got through to the title match, I'm sure you guys know Quinn Sheehy from UW Whitewater. Well,
Yes, I do.
The lanes were so burnt. The lanes were so burnt that he was standing left of the ball return. Like, if he's bowling on the right lane, he was basically standing on the approach of the left lane, and he was lofting it a good 30 feet down there, over and around. I didn't think he needed to be that far left, but I mean, he was scoring, and then I ran the front 10 against him in the title match.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to win.
It's a pretty good way to win. Just throw a 10 bagger real fast.
Yes. And then I won my second one in like October-ish this last year. And Chris Tuskowski, the guy who runs it, he ran it as it was the scratch shootout, and he had a U18 division and an adult division. So like all the college bowlers had to group up with a bunch of adult bowlers who usually don't bowl his events. And so I led qualifying, and some people like to discredit me for the title because it was U18, but I beat all of the adults in the 9 games of qualifying. And then I won my matches, and that's about it.
That's
so
awesome.
I want to extend off of this JBST talk a little bit, because I've only bowled a select few of them. The first one I actually ever bowled was in Rockford, and I want to say we bowled on like Los Angeles, so like 38 feet.
That pattern was interesting.
It was impossible, dude. Impossible. I qualified like tied for 13th or something at like minus 118. It was brutal. But I don't know what it is I found in match play, but it just all of a sudden something started clicking, and we clicked off a few wins. I remember beating Todd Renee. I remember beating Edgar Burgos, which that match is something that I will never forget because of some details that happened in between. Basically, the ball return broke down, so we had to move pairs, bowl the second game of the 2-game match. And he was, so we won the first pair. He was not practice. No, well, I don't remember. I don't recall that actually. I just remember whatever pair we were on, because Chris came down and asked us what we wanted to do. And we both agreed that it wouldn't be fair to either one of us if we moved pairs and then finished the game without having, somewhat of an idea of, what to expect. So we talked about it, and we agreed we'll just go ahead and finish the match on this pair, but we'll send balls back on the ball return of whatever pair was next to us. And so we ended up finishing that the first game. I don't remember how much I won the first game by, but I ended up winning it, I'm pretty sure. If not, I lost it by the slimmest amount. But we ended up moving pairs, and the first pair we were on, he had no look. He was totally lost. He was throwing a purple, and I was kind of surprised he was still throwing one that late. Well, it would have been, I think there was 4 people left.
He throws it a million. He always
he
throws
does.
purple.
And I feel like he just has a way he can just spin it through the front. so like it never sees it, even if
Yeah.
like even with urethane.
He's so
Yeah,
good at
that's
making
his
it get through the fronts.
Yeah, that's
Oh, dude,
his
it's
thing when he
crazy.
throws urethane. He throws it out there a little bit and puts like a little spin on it, and it just shims all the way.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane to watch. But long story short, we ended up getting it came down to the 10th frame, and I did whatever it is I did, and I'm more than positive all he needed was a mark, and he went smash 4-9 and didn't even like attempt at it, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was what happened. And obviously, shook hands, moved on, and it is what it is. But ironically, whenever Vader mentioned the things about the lanes being just basically fried, the first thing that came to mind when talking JBST was that day, because I ended up bowling Tyler McNutt in the final, and we went down and bowled on 3 and 4, which not the match previous with Edgar, there was another match I bowled another whitewater kid. I can't remember his name at the moment. The first game I actually had the front 9, and then I boned an 8-pin 260 because I definitely whiffed it in the on the spare shot. But no, I ended up bowling him, and he wasn't quite that far left as what you were mentioning, but he was left lofting, sliding probably in the middle of the gutter cap, and he was definitely throwing a surface white dot, while I was still standing on maybe like 29, 30, 31, throwing like huge ASIM pearls, and they were somehow just shimming their way down there. And it wasn't overly close, but
it's not the first time I've seen him hit a white dot surface, by the way.
No, that was the first time I'd seen anybody do it, but now that's like a common thing, I guess.
Vader's good at doing that to his white dot or his T-zone.
I feel like I almost revolutionized throwing the spare ball in Wisconsin, because I did it like once or twice, and now you see it at almost every tournament by two-handers.
Yeah.
Like, I won Pepsi State this year, and I threw the IQ Tour Emerald the first 3 games, and then there was another 3. It was like 2 3-game blocks, and then the second one, we got some practice and moved to a different pair. There was a break in the middle, and I tried to get a little farther left with my phase 3 because the lanes were torched, and we were at Bolero, and it ate up my phase 3. Like, it was done. It was done, and I had to get a new ball after that. But I threw my T-zone and shot a higher score than my first set and won. And then there was the Sabre Youth Open, and I threw my T-zone the first 2-3 games and just trapped the pocket, because otherwise I'd leave the split every other shot with a resin ball. And then I ended up like giving myself enough ground to make the cut, and then I switched to a pearl later on and ended up winning. But yeah.
At Junior Gold, I vaguely know you hit your spare ball. Well, both your Team Masters balls with some surface, or
yeah.
practice. At least practice. I don't know if you threw it during qualifying or not.
Yeah. I don't know, if I see something in practice, I'll usually hit my ball with surface just in case. Because I don't know, spare balls tend to be really shiny, and it's, I don't know.
So maybe that should have been a move at Michigan Cup. I remember Team Wisconsin didn't bowl overly great that weekend, I guess.
They
but it should have hit the spare ball with surface. Maybe it would have helped.
They beat Team Indiana, so they still made the finals.
That is true. I will give you guys that, because no fault to them or discredit to them, but Illinois team, we were rooting very, very hard for Wisconsin to knock them out, and
I wouldn't say that.
Sure enough, it did. I
would say that we didn't like some of the strategizing from Team Indiana, and it just came in our favor that we had to pull Team Wisconsin.
Correct.
Alrighty.
However, that's forever my favorite tournament to bowl, hands down.
I'm kind of, I don't know if I get to bowl it again.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
If you're
depressing,
dude. One and done, bro.
It's only for 20 and under,
Yep.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
in theory, I technically might be able to then, depending on when that age verification comes in.
Well,
August
it's just
normally.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just
I
August.
should be able to because I'm still 20.
When you turn 21 next year,
October.
or like the summer, October.
no. I think it's he couldn't have reached his 20th birthday by August 1st.
Oh,
Like,
maybe
he'd
that's
have to be
maybe
19.
that's what it is.
That
Then.
may be, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, I'm glad the 1 year I bowled, I somewhat contributed.
Yeah, that was a great day. That was a fun
It was
tournament.
insane, dude. It was.
Having all the greatest, like all the best bowlers from the Midwest all in one place to battle it
Oh,
out
yeah.
for their is awesome. I wish there were like more tournaments like around the country that's similar.
For sure. And
'Cause it's
I
such-
vaguely remember Cameron when we were standing up, taking one of the pictures. Which, speaking of, I want to touch on that subject later for Bobby's sake.
I know what you're
but,
referring
Yeah,
to.
but no, we were standing up taking pictures, and Cameron looked over. And I think it was when Patty was presenting awards or something, maybe with the banners, possibly. And he mentioned something, or he said something about like, we didn't pay for this tournament. I looked at him and I said, "You're kidding, right?" And he goes, "No, like we didn't pay." And I was like, "No, but think about it. We paid throughout the year. Like we sacrificed throughout the season to make this tournament, and then Patty just paid off whatever was left, basically." Because Patty turned around and she heard that, and she had that look like "Don't mess with me right now" kind of look. I just kept my mouth shut. But no, I vaguely remember that, and then obviously the rest of the day with the whole picture situation and Bobby having to be in the front row was quite hilarious, might I add.
Well, when there's 20 people plus on the team, and they all have their phones up, I don't know which phone you want me to look at. It's not like Patty's like, okay, let me get one, and then all the
Yeah.
parents come in. It was everybody at once.
Correct.
So like our eyes are like that if you look at the picture.
Oh yeah, like there's one where one of us is looking one direction, the other one's looking straight, and then we get another one where one's looking straight and the other one's looking the other way, or both looking opposite ways, or it was a mess. Total
Actually, I'm
mess.
pretty sure it's the profile picture of our channel that whoever's
I'm more than
watching, if they
positive.
want to go look at it, it's if you can zoom in enough and find the picture blown up,
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
yeah.
So, Vader, tell us about your Team Wisconsin, how you guys actually, for that tournament, you guys jumped Team Indiana the last game. I
Yeah,
know
we did.
it was close. I think you guys were down. Blaine, do you remember like 8 or something?
I don't recall the exact number. I just remember that they had been close pretty much throughout the day, and that we'd had a decent enough lead. Anyways,
And
that's about all I remember. And then obviously coming down to the last couple frames or so.
and for those
Yeah.
people listening who aren't familiar with the tournament, it's all team based. So it was Team Indiana, Team Wisconsin, Team Illinois, and the format is like an all day thing. We bowl singles games, doubles games, and team games. And pretty much for singles, if you're first, you get 2 points. Second, you get 1 point, and then if you're last, you get 0. For doubles, it's very similar. There's mixed doubles and
Regular
same,
doubles.
yeah. And then for team, it's a 10-point format. So each game you're one head to head. So say I'm first on one team, and then say Vader or Blaine is first on the other team, then I'm blowing against them head to head. So it's 5 total points, and
Yep.
then 5 more for the team team score overall. So it's easy to lose points, it's easy to gain points, and points are fluctuating all day long. So Vader, just tell us about like the last game and how it was.
Well, I'm actually wearing my Lake Michigan Cup jersey right now. Thought I'd rep it a little bit. But our match against Indiana was really interesting. So it was, one of those team games where it's 5 for team total and then 1 for your head-to-head match. And we were on like 3 and 4. And
It was 3 and 4, 5 and 6, somewhere in the lower end.
Yeah, it was somewhere
Yeah.
near the door, near the end.
Yeah.
And whoever just oiled it decided not to burn lane 3. So it hooks like 10 boards more than lane 4. And we had to finish on lane 3, which was, not fun. And then so early in the game, Team Indiana carried like several Brooklyns in a row and got out to an early lead. And then we were just chugging along. And then we had a couple big finishes from some players to get those individual points, against each other. And there were some Brooklyns in there too. Lake Michigan Cup was like by far the event that I've seen the most Brooklyns. Like there was just one every direction you looked.
And not to mention, the patterns were absolutely impossible. Like 190 was a great game.
I didn't find them all that hard, personally. I kind of played both of them similar.
I don't know.
I feel like that helped me, get to. I think I finished 4th of the all tournament team. I feel like that was what got me to that point. Was I was able to play them both kind of similar.
Well,
same
they were
general
pretty
areas
much
of the
the
lane,
same.
same ball.
Yeah, they were pretty much the same pattern. One of them was just like all reverse or something.
It was all forward, and I want to say either that one or the afternoon one. There was like that big speed bump down lane.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was one of the. I think it was the morning one.
I think we didn't find them as difficult because like our coaches, like everybody, I can't speak for Team Wisconsin, at least Team Illinois, we were just so proud of just trying to fill frames, where like we didn't really try to string them. Where that's where we didn't find them as difficult. We're trying to get to the head pin.
But it was either like urethane outside or between a 3rd and 4th arrow with the pearl.
Yeah.
Just the whole way.
I found a little look in the singles game on the fresh, playing a little bit straighter, not quite that deep, but I wasn't like on the gutter either. And I ended up getting the 2 points on my pair with like Matt Labonte. I think I bowled with Kale Rush, whatever. I can never pronounce his last name.
Yeah, it's just Rush.
Yeah. But we all three were on the same pair, and I don't remember what they ended up score-wise, but I ended up having a decent string in the middle and ended up shooting like 230 or something like that. So
at that tournament, it didn't really matter what ball you threw as long as you were hitting the head pin.
Yeah, basically. Well, that and it's town and country.
Yeah, that center is very difficult.
Yeah.
So I was just, everybody was doing the math coming down to it. And so we had gotten, I'd say like three or four individual of those head-to-head points, but we really needed to win the overall 5 to have like the chance to pass them, right? And then so it came down to it. And then Matt Labonte, I was against him. He was up on the right lane. And then he threw it, went a little light and like tickled the 4-pin, but it didn't fall. And so he needed that strike to like force me to double or something. But because he missed, I only needed a mark. And then so I threw it and I made a big move from what was the 8th frame on the left lane to my 10th frame on the left lane. And I moved left, thought I was all set. I aced the shot, split the board I was looking at, and it went runaway Brooklyn. And I don't know, Matt Labonte wasn't very happy.
He wasn't very happy to begin with because of not carrying before. I can vividly remember hearing him either like punching his hand and he yelled something, and I wasn't super close to the pair. I kind of just like knew what was going on, but I didn't know how close it really was. So whenever it is I heard him have his little outburst or whatever, I was like, Matt only does that unless he really needed something. And sure enough, I found out later that he needed that hit to force you to double or whatever it was.
I didn't know that he needed that hit.
I thought I didn't think so either at first anyway, but then like obviously once I found out, because Cameron had told me during lunch about it.
Yeah, I wasn't aware. I knew it was close. I wasn't aware of the exact point, and I was sitting right next to Cam Crow. We're talking about people.
Correct.
Watching, and I knew it was close because I think we finished our games pretty quick, and the girls had already had their games matched up. So
Right.
for the
Well,
people
and on
not
our end,
out,
on the guys' end, we didn't necessarily have to like. There wasn't like a set number that we were like needing. I don't think. I think we
we
were
needed
that
2 points,
far.
didn't we? And the girls covered for
Um,
us.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think we needed 7 is what it was. I think we needed 7 in total between all 4 teams or something like that, and we ended up getting it like in the first game or something like that,
Well,
or like 6 out of the 7.
not to mention this was a second team game. The first one we didn't bowl
Correct.
that great. At least
No,
my guys' team we didn't bowl
we
great.
my guys' team didn't bowl very well either. We broke them down terribly. It was not fun, not fun. But we found something a little bit different whenever we broke them down the second team game, and we still didn't bowl overly great, but it was enough to get majority of the points, and that was kind of what we were really after at the time, especially being against Indiana for that second game.
Yeah, we bowled against Team Wisconsin because we flipped. We bowled against the
Correct.
Indiana team that happened to be all Illinois bowlers.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and going back to like what we mentioned earlier, that was the quote unquote strategy that none of us were overly thrilled about.
That's kind of what you can say upset us or tick us off is
Yeah.
how
I,
we qualify these teams through the Illinois, Wisconsin, and Indiana tours,
right.
and all the Illinois bowlers chose to bowl for Team Indiana. Happened that the
So
coach put them all together on a team.
I wasn't overly upset with them bowling with the Indiana team. I was upset with how that one particular team got put together.
I don't know because some of their bowlers made it on both teams and chose Indiana.
Right.
I mean,
I
their
don't I
loss,
don't
I guess.
recall exactly who made both teams. I just remember seeing that particular team put together, and I immediately was like, that's either going to really, really help them or it's going to really, really hurt them.
And their team was on paper the strongest team in the building.
Oh, hands down by far.
Especially on the guys' team. They
Correct.
got guys going to McKendree, Wichita, like
Mhm.
very, very good
Well,
schools.
and then you
And
throw in Brandon
into
Caruso with
one.
that, and he's still a talented high school guy, too.
Yeah, and he got second junior gold. Like
Correct.
these guys know how to win. They're very good bowlers. And the team Indiana at their tour, they don't put out easy patterns at all. Their patterns are
No,
always
they
very,
do
very
not.
low scoring. So definitely fun day. Vader, you got anything else? Got any
Not necessarily. Nothing about Lake Michigan Cup really. I mean,
so what's coming up in your future? We got some big tournaments coming up. Are you partaking in PBA Junior or some of the other big tournaments coming up?
yeah, I'll be bowling PBA juniors this coming weekend. What else is there? There's gonna be team trials in January, I assume. I plan on doing that. I'm currently on the waiting list for SYC Kansas. I think that covers most of the big ones, like the kind of more national stage tournaments.
Yeah, I think so. For the PBA Junior, top two make it to national finals. Have you seen the pattern? Did you practice
I
on
heard
it at all?
it's PBA Dragon. I know Kyle Muth. He's been bowling on it recently. Doesn't sound too hard, but I don't know. I mean, PBA patterns, they're all like 3 or 4 to 1, really. All of the college patterns or the junior gold patterns that we bowl at WIBTs are a little harder.
Yeah, I agree. I think our region. I'll be there as well. I think our region's one of the toughest. I know some college boys who are still of it.
Kind of lost you guys here.
Yeah,
I've
I
dealt
didn't
with
hear much
Wisconsin
of
boys.
But after that,
All right. I mean, it seems to be better now.
yep. Bobby, you good, bro?
But yeah,
I'm good now. Yes.
yeah, our region seems to be really strong. Illinois, particularly, is probably one of the better just youth bowling states in all of I don't know, anywhere you look really. So, and most of you guys come up for that event. So,
Yeah, I know. I'll be there. I don't know who else from Illinois.
Laney Breedlove said she was going.
Okay.
I
I
mean,
assume
our
Jay
kids,
Martin's gonna be
our
there.
kids yeah, I mean, our kids like Edgar and Brandon Caruso are going to be there. And
I don't know. Edgar's just bowled for Team Puerto Rico out in Guatemala. So I
Yep.
don't know if he's taken some time off or not. I'm
He bowled pretty
sure
well out there too, actually.
he bowled great.
Yes, he did.
I think he was fourth overall, and some guys on tour that were out there, Ildemar Ruiz for Team Colombia, and then Christian Ascona also on Team Puerto Rico. Edgar got chose to bowl for the adult team this weekend or this week.
Yeah,
Dick.
Won a couple medals.
yeah, he whacked him.
Yes.
Speaking of, as far as whacking them goes, I have heard from an untold source. I will not name names, but a certain someone who has he did not bowl yesterday. He mentioned that he would have whacked them very hard yesterday had he have bowled. And I lost Bobby.
Can you like restate that? I lost you.
Oh, okay. So I basically said I won't name any names, but a certain someone had told me last night that based on information he had heard about our tournament yesterday up in Lockport, that he would have whacked them very hard had he have bowled.
Mr. Vader or whom?
Brandon Caruso.
Yes, he would have.
I think Vader would have had a pretty good day as well.
I think Vader because Vader can hook him as much as we can. So
correct. And I mean, you say it differently because I was seeing stuff a little bit different when it came down to like to the finals. I didn't think the left lane was that hard. I
yeah,
really
but
did.
like I also didn't get a game on that pair. I got
Correct.
2 shots and then we
Well,
went.
and it was a girls pair too.
Yes, so
it was only fair though because none of us had seen it all day. So I will give them that.
yeah, I mean personally I don't like the move, but I think they had the leagues coming in, so we kind of had no choice. Yeah, like I think you had an advantage. You had a game ball down there before. I had 2 shots. After the game, I assessed that I picked the wrong lane. Maybe if I didn't have to finish on the lane, maybe I would have figured something out a little quicker. But
it's hard to say.
Life goes on. Life goes on.
Well, and what was weird about it was the game before I bowled Alex Acosta, and I watched him throw 2 identical shots, or at least I felt they were close enough that they shouldn't have been as different as they were. He went super washout and then went Greek church on back-to-back shots on that left lane. And I thought they were a lot closer than that, but he got 5 twice and he threw both of them pretty good, I felt.
Well,
so
what's kind of
immediately
funny?
I knew it was tricky.
What's kind of funny is that in the finals you bowled Matt Dvorsky. Congrats, Matt. You bowled great all day.
Oh, he was hell of a day for him.
He picked to finish on that left lane.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he saw. I know he was throwing something a little shiny, a little weaker.
I think he was throwing a High Road Pearl.
I
was throwing a Zen at the time.
I threw a Zen and a Venom shot against you.
Correct.
So
If anything, I think what he saw, not to interrupt what you were just saying, I think what he saw was the right lane for me was starting to get a little jumpy. I don't know if he saw that from the match previous or not, because I didn't really move a whole lot on either lane for that matter. But later in the match, I went like trip big 4 in the 6th, And then in the 8th, I tripped a 9. Or I don't think I tripped it out, actually. I think it was like close. It could have tripped it maybe. But it was one of those deals where, I talked to you about it when we got done yesterday, that I made my move. I committed to it. I threw the shot about as good as I felt I possibly could have at the time. And
The
it
shot to
just
win.
correct for, yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like I executed it about as well as I could have anyway. And I mean, it just wasn't my day. So I'm happy with it. Congrats to Matt again. People phenomenal all day. I didn't think he was actually all that close to the cut to begin with.
I didn't think he
Pulled
was that
so far
close.
apart
He
though.
shot 220 the last game to jump into second.
Yeah. So it was insane. And then obviously I was 7th going into the advances round and jumped up to 4th, which I didn't think I was even going to be that close to that. But I guess that 240 game 2 didn't really hurt much.
No, I don't think 240 ever hurts the scorecard.
No. I would agree with that.
No. So, Vader, you got any college mind, like any schools in mind? You trying to look forward to college, high school bowling? What do you, as far as
Well,
that looking at and studying stuff like that?
With high school bowling, I'll admit I'm not really excited about it. Like, I'm not somebody who's always been excited or had fun with high school bowling, really. I purely bowl high school bowling so I can bowl at state in March. And I mean, that's my goal, is to win state again. In Wisconsin, nobody's ever won state twice for boys. And I think I'm going to do that. And then for college bowling, I'd say I'm kind of down to my top 2. Well, realistically, there's only been a top 2 for me. And UW Whitewater is one of those. I know Sean very well, Coach Walkner. He's pretty cool. He really wants me. And then I've been in contact with the coaches at Wichita State and emailing back and forth with them recently, with SYC Kansas coming up. Depending on if I get off the wait list and bowl, I'm going to do a college visit then. If not, I'll probably wait a little later. So they'll have by then their selected teams, and I'll actually be able to attend a practice. While if I go in September, that won't be the case. And then I'll make my decision after that, I guess.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Have you narrowed down like your major, or like what do you look to study, anything like that?
I don't know. I'm interested in business, finance, and well, yeah, I guess that's all I've got really.
I feel like those you can't go wrong with. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of like I feel like a ton of people looking for jobs right now, or like a lot of businesses are looking to hire. So
and then after school, I've told a couple people this. I could see myself like, I obviously want to be in the bowling industry in one way or another. I think it's a lot of people's case, whether it's pro bowling, working for a bowling ball company, working here or there, right?
right.
And I know like at Wichita State, like being, I mean, they're just like the school that everybody associates college bowling with. Like they've always been the best, really. And so I feel like if I come from there, I'd have a lot of connections, more connections, like to get into the bowling industry, really. But I mean, other places will do that for me too. And recently I've been like spending a lot of time running my own sweepers tournaments.
Is
And
that
I'm
something
planning.
you'd possibly want to do, like start your own tour, like a
Yeah,
couple
I
people
mean,
started
not.
recently?
I wouldn't necessarily start my own tour. I mean that's always a possibility. I mean, I have my little sweepers, I guess, which I'm happy with right now, and I don't know what I really see myself doing after college with tournaments. I mean, I'd love to run a few tournaments here and there. Like I know in February, I'm working with the owner at Saber Lanes, which is also in Wisconsin. We're going to run a high school bowling tournament, a team tournament, and it's going to be like college style, though, because I mean, 4 or 5 years ago in Wisconsin, there were a lot of high school bowling tournaments you'd be able to find, but more recently it's kind of phased out, and the only tournament you see for high school bowling is state. And so I don't know, one of my goals is to kind of bring that back. And so we'd involve the team games in the morning and then transition like you guys do in Illinois. Because in Wisconsin, all we do is Baker. The only individual games I'll ever bowl in high school bowling is at state at the very end of the year, while you guys bowl those like team games, or as they call it in college, where you bowl 5 bowlers bowl singles games.
Yeah, actually, here in Illinois, it's mostly team game. Very
Yep.
rarely. Our conference finals are actually some Baker, but it's mostly team games. But supposedly the IHSA, the governing body in Illinois, is supposed to be bringing that back a little bit. Don't know what it's going to be, but
Nice. So yeah, it's gonna be something college style, but it's gonna be compacted into one day. Team games and then a cut to match play with Baker games. A best of series could be 3, 5, or 7, and we kind of have intentions to run it as like almost a college showcase. So I plan on inviting all of the UW schools coaches, and they'll set up whatever they want, booths, you know it. Um, but for like high school bowling in Wisconsin, I see like, as somebody who bowls the youth events, like the tours with the Wisconsin Youth Bowlers Tour and JVSTs, and then I bowl high school, and I see a lot of things that high school could be done better based on having the full experience. Well, I feel like some of the people in charge at the Bowler Centers Association of Wisconsin, which is like, it's not IHSA, where it's like the state like sport association. It's just like another association, but they run high school bowling. I see a lot of things that they could do better for high school bowling, and so I kind of like, that's kind of one of the things I want to get into, is being on those boards, being on those committees where I can like help make changes and things that I see, and kind of make high school bowling in Wisconsin a lot better.
it's definitely a good thing
everybody.
you just noted there. I'm sure that's not the case just in Wisconsin. Here in Illinois, I find that's a big issue as well. Um, that the IHSA, our governing body, does not do a good job of like recognizing the other opportunities outside of just high school bowling, college bowling, etc. In my opinion, there's better opportunities outside of high school bowling. Like you said, doing the tours. Stormy championships are great tournaments. Obviously junior gold, stuff like that, where there's a lot more college exposure than high school bowling. B, it's better experience. There's more like
Yeah.
college patterns or sport
Yep.
patterns, and I
Yep.
just think kids learn a lot more when they're not with a coach, and specifically they're just pretty much by themselves, or if their parent knows about bowling, they can help as well. I think it's a good thing that you and like some of the stuff like you're trying to do, trying to get into changing high school bowling for the better, obviously.
Yep. And that's kind of like the thing with IHSA and high school bowling in Wisconsin. They like from what I see, like IHSA, they run like basketball and the other sports in Illinois. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
they're a sporting body, like, and like a sport, like a they're not bowling. Like they
Exactly.
run bowling because bowling is a sport. They don't really know bowling outside of high school bowling. So
Exactly.
there's a lot of things that can be done better. And I feel like that's the same thing with Wisconsin. Like it's the same thing with Illinois. We really just bowl on house shots. Like our high school bowling, like my district in particular, and there's like one or two other districts that bowl on the challenge patterns. And I mean, they're not house, but they're harder, but they're not really sport either. They're still the 4 to 6 to 1 where, I mean, it'll be a little harder for your Saturday morning youth bowlers, but for a bowler like me, you or Blaine, where we bowl like actual sport condition tournaments, it's really not that hard at all. And I feel like Wisconsin as a whole, we'd produce just a lot of better bowlers if it was all standardized to sport or whatever.
Well, I feel like it's drawing away the better bowlers in Illinois. I know a couple as well. I'm not gonna name names, but a couple aren't even gonna bowl their high school because also the IHSA makes a rule where sport they cannot compete in any outside games or activities for that sport during the season. And when like it's bowling and specifically when you can make scholarship money for your future for college, I just don't see how that's right. Although basketball, football, they can make scholarship money, and I believe somebody has reached the IHSA and they haven't wanted anything to do with it. Like they haven't wanted to hear it or anything. So I
Yeah.
just think that some of the wrong people are in charge of these organizations, and they should be more people who run tours, know bowling. If anything, keep a new go like start like a new like governing body for them. Blaine, do you?
Um, I don't I can't speak on my level as far as that goes with the high school side because I mean, like I mentioned earlier, like I never got to dabble into that. There is one thing that like a year and a half ago ish, somewhere in that time frame, as Vader's dropping his stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
Um, I had talked to someone about putting together like kind of like Vader was talking about like a college theme or like kind of like a college field tournament, um, especially for like guys like you and him that are obviously looking into doing that kind of thing to kind of get them like that feel for how college tournaments work. I mean,
Yep.
they are more similar than not compared to like high school deals or some in some cases like a tour stop in a way. Um, but as far as like getting like that feel and chemistry for bowling with like a 5-man team and then having like a Baker thing like Baker, I feel like for me anyway, it wasn't something that I had experience with before college. So like by the time I got there or got here, it was just like foreign to me. And it took me, I don't remember exactly how long, but it took me what I felt like was too long to kind of like adapt to that format. So something I wanted to push was, even like if we could get Patty in on it or even Chris or if Edgar would, possibly dabble into it, is put together some kind of like team tournament. Yeah, it's a little bit harder because it technically would cut down your entries in theory. Um, but at the end of the day, I think it would actually do more good than bad because it gets, some of the younger generation and high school bowlers at the time, it gives them a little bit of experience as far as, kind of what to expect going into college. And it's not just like watching it on TV or, watching it in person. It's like they actually get to partake in it, so they have that experience, on hand experience with it. That was just something that kind of drove me nuts my freshman year here at Lincoln College was I never really had experience with that the Baker format before. I kind of just watched it, and I've always had like a knack for team bowling. I don't know what it is, but something about, I guess, just growing up in like the league standpoint from it, I guess, is probably where it comes from. But that was the one thing that I've kind of always felt needs to be pushed a little bit harder. And I can't really say that people haven't tried to do it, because I'm sure there's been plenty of, people that run tours all over the place that, they try and do something like that. But dude, that's probably the biggest thing as far as, something I'd like to see change for future tournaments. Even if if I age out of them at that time and I don't get to compete with them, it still does, the younger kids that are coming up that want to bowl in college, it gets them that experience that I feel is needed to be, considered, maybe even considered at, making a team at that point. So
Well,
I'm
I have a
always been
question
one
for
for
you.
more experience, the better.
As far as a college bowler, obviously you talk to your coaches in general. Um, with the high school bowling stance as it is now, how much do they go into like look for potential students there rather than tournaments like junior gold, like some harder contests for some of the exceptional young bowlers? Um, Obviously a lot of the bowlers in Illinois and Wisconsin bowl these tours. Um, High school, obviously, it's a little more sporadic just because it's all around the state. Illinois being a lot bigger than Wisconsin. Um, so as far as just like trying to get new teammates, bowlers in general, where are they starting to look? Are they not even taking a look at high school bowling because of that?
Um, I know I can tell you this much. We'd had a meeting my freshman year, towards the end of the year, so right around when all this COVID stuff started going on, that we felt that we needed to do something different in the future as far as like how we were going about recruiting. And I think the one thing that we all kind of agreed on more than anything was that we needed to take the diameter that we had. I don't want to say set out, but kind of like had an idea for recruiting. We needed to, obviously expand it out, go, look further, or even go, go to the tour stops kind of thing. Um, and as far as I know, most everyone that has come in down here so far, minus obviously the guys and some of the girls that have been here, this being the third year of the program, um, they've mainly been from this general area, this central area, which I can attest on my end that finding someone that is of that kind of talent or breed, basically, it's not super easy to do. And I think Vater can probably speak to that kind of thing as well. That you get to like the central parts of states, it's not as common to find, even just say like a regular 200 average league bowler. So that isn't bowling like adult leagues, per se. It's not as easy because it's more spread out, kind of like you said. So it's not like, you go up by Bobby, where it's, you have, give or take, say 8 or 10 bowling centers, maybe within like an hour. Where like down here, we have one within the town of Lincoln, and then the one up in Atlanta got, well, from what I understand anyway, is now 4 lanes instead of 8. And then obviously Springfield, there's, I want to say, I know there's 2 centers for sure, Kingpin and then Strike and Spare West, I believe. And then obviously Bloomington, there's the two centers as well. So I just don't think they're, and this is not a knock on, my coaches or the past coaching. I think it's so new still that there's not, like I guess I'll put it this way, is we're not like a regular like bowling team, basically. Our old,
Not yet. It's a third year of the program, like you said.
correct.
So a couple years
And
down the road, it may.
right. And the hardest part about it for me, at least from my standpoint anyway, and my humbled opinion about it is the past head coach, she was previously coaching volleyball here at the school, and she had also taken over the assistant athletic director job. So pretty much anything that we wanted to suggest or talk about or whatever, we could just go into her office and kind of like we are right now, just kind of shoot the shit about it. And this past season, she actually she resigned from that job as well as the head bowling coach to go back to coach men's volleyball, and left the job to her husband, which ended up getting hired. Which I don't know if I've told you this, Bobby, but he's actually a full-time firefighter up in Naperville. So he works
Oh, wow.
every 3 days, and then currently right now, like we talked about before, they're also working on that farmhouse, and it's going to be close. So whenever I said earlier, like, we're not like your typical college bowling team, I really mean it, because, and it's not a knock on the coaches by any means, that they're just not, I don't feel they're as knowledgeable yet anyway to kind of like get us to the level that I think we could reach. We definitely made strides at the end of last year for sure, and I felt like as the year kind of went on, we kind of found a little bit of a rhythm. It'll be interesting to see. We got a couple younger guys this year, freshmen that came in. That one of them I know for sure. I've seen him bowl before he even came down here or came here, because he lives here in town actually. He'll be pretty solid. Decent physical game. I mean, obviously everyone can use tweaks here and there. I mean, I'm still tweaking on mine all the time. I mean,
Me too.
yeah, and I'm
Sure,
more than
I'm sure Vader
positive
can
Vader's
attest
in
to
the
that as
same
well.
boat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're competitive like we are, trying to keep that edge, you're always trying to find something. So
I was trying to get better.
correct. It'll be interesting to see kind of how he takes to it. The other freshman that came in, one of the other freshmen that came in, he's from, I want to say, Ottawa, up north, and he bowled in the high school crowd for a little bit. I don't know if he did it all 4 years or if it was just for a couple. I just know he was part of it for a little while anyway. So he'll be good. We're kind of fighting with him a little bit right now in his physical game. He's another two-handed guy, but his approach is a little different. And different, I mean, he has like 6 or 7 steps, and like the first 3 or 4 are all like little shuffle steps. So they're basically irrelevant in a way. At least I just kind of feel like it's a waste of effort, especially because nothing's really going on. Like, it's literally just like, you know what I mean? So we're always tweaking. We're always fighting around, trying to find something different. And I'm not going to be the guy that, is a dictator or a tyrant or whatever that says, hey, like, this is what works for me, so this is what you need to be doing. Like, I know that's not how it works. So we kind of just let them do, or let everyone, as far as that goes, just whatever's kind of comfortable at the time, for what they're kind of after, what they want to feel. And then if they want to go, to the next step, is kind of where I like to come in and refer them to the guy I've been working with for the last 5 years now. And that was kind of whenever my competitive side for this sport kind of came in, was when I started working with him. His name's Dave Dirth, down in I guess when I'm here, it's up in Bloomington, Illinois. He's the owner of that little 12-lane center, has been for 16 years, I think now, 15 or 16, something like that. And there's a story to that I'm sure we'll get to at some point down the road. It's kind of an interesting one, but yeah, if they want to go to the next level as far as the college guys or girls down here, that's kind of where I point them. simply just because, I don't know if either of you ever really knew who I was about 5 years ago. So whenever it is I got to working with him, that was kind of whenever I felt I became relevant. And then, from then on, it's been a hell of a journey. I'll just leave it at that.
That's how bowling goes.
Heck yes, man. Heck
You
yes.
start somewhere, you just want to get better. I'm sure Vader can
Yep.
test that. He hasn't been bowling as long. I think I've been bowling the longest out of us three since my family is in the business. But I know Vader's newer, and so are you, Blaine.
Well,
But
and I
guys are
wouldn't. So I've
dry.
actually been at it since I was 2.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. So have I pretty much.
yeah, it was just more of I never really took off with it until I was 4 turning 5. Because at 2 you don't you're you're 2. And what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But no, as far as Vader's end of it goes, I feel like he's been around the competitive side long enough to know, if that makes any sense. At least I feel anyway, personally.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I feel like you don't start bowling until you're like bowling competitive tournaments
Mhm.
consistently.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah. I feel like the tournaments that we bowled, the JBSTs and WABTs, that's like really like bowling. Like, I'm seeing this girl, and she bowls high school and league, but we both agree she's like not a bowler because she doesn't bowl the JVSCs. Like, she's not in the bowling community, you know.
And I think that's like a strong bond between like just people in the Midwest alone and like around the country, whether that be I don't know like how I'm trying to say this, but when you have been in the community for a while, you start meeting people like around the country, and it's pretty much like a family. Like I'll go to say like an SYC or something nationally, and see people from wherever, and all um like welcome with
Yep,
open arms and everything. Like, and after you've created some friendships with some of those people, you're friends like forever.
I agree. I mean, I know people from just about everywhere, and I see them at Junior Gold or, I mean, SYCs. I've only been to a couple of them, and Junior Gold was a little extra of that this year because I had a lot of people who came up to me that I didn't know, but they were like, "Oh, I follow your 1x a day account, where I
Yeah,
post
so
a
tell
strike
us about
every
them.
day." Well, some time ago, I decided. Well, my mom, uh, when she comes to tournaments, I mean, in the past like year or so, I've kind of branched out where I go to a lot of tournaments on my own. Like, if it just works out better that way, I'll drive a couple hours, and it's great. Like, knowing people, like we're talking about. Like, I have friends all over Wisconsin. Like, my best friends are like an hour away or 2 hours in this direction, and so if I want to bowl a tournament, and my mom my dad really doesn't go to tournaments. I win like 75% of the tournaments that he comes to, just by chance, just by random chance. He comes to like
Good luck.
one, yeah. Um, but I'll just leave for the weekend or whatever, and I have people I'm really close with, and they just welcome me to their home, and I feel like family there. Um, I don't know where I was really going with this. Kind of lost myself.
Your
Um,
one day account.
oh, 1x a day. So, I mean, yeah. So when my mom comes to tournaments, right? This is where I started off on this little tangent. When she comes to my tournaments, she records a lot of videos of me. Like, I can in my camera roll, I have like 2,500 videos on my phone. And so I decided some time ago that I wanted to post a strike every day. And so I made this Instagram account and named it 1x a day, and been going at it and posting like 719 days or something like that. And so I always have a video sitting somewhere that I can post it.
How many
I mean,
followers do you have in that account on Instagram, by the way?
like 3,000, kind of pushing like 3,500. So, I mean, I get people from everywhere. And so like at Junior Gold, there are just a lot of people who are like, yeah, that's really cool. I love your account. And
Yeah,
so,
it's a cool account. I would have thought of creating something like that.
and a lot of people ask me or comment and they're like, do you bowl every day? And I'm like, well, not every day, but pretty much at this point.
Yeah,
but I mean,
if I could do it every day, best believe. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'd say the only time I like don't bowl is when I physically like I cannot fit it into my schedule for the day. Like I'm absolutely booked.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'll be practicing all 5 days of the week and trying to bowl a tournament on the weekend. And there was a time span where I went back and looked, like through like my schedules, my camera roll, and I counted back every weekend, and I was like, I've bowled the last 32 weekends in a row, at least a tournament.
That's a lot of
two.
weekends.
Yeah, that's
And
almost too much, I feel, for the mental game on my end anyway.
it is. And well, after state when I lost, I mean, it kind of hurt my mental health, and I couldn't really sleep at night for about 3 months. And my doctor's like, so like, why aren't you sleeping? Like, what do you think about it? And I'm like, bowling. And she's like, I think you need to find another hobby other than bowling. And so,
Dude, I would have got a new doctor.
So I mean,
sorry.
I've kind of been working on like my life balance between bowling and just other things outside of bowling. Like I'm trying to find other things to keep me occupied, and I've recently like been able to turn down a bowling tournament or two because I know, I can see family this weekend instead, and this will be better for me. So yeah.
That's actually another topic that I'm sure we'll touch on. Maybe not tonight, but at some point down the road is, the mental health side of it. And I feel it's not talked about enough in our sport. And part of that might just be because, I don't want to say it's just a lack of care. It's just more of, we just see each other and we just kind of think like, oh, well, there's so-and-so, he's pretty good. Like he's sharp, So we never really think twice about it. But the point I was going to bring up with it is one of my classes here this semester is it's like the history and philosophy of how sport kind of like started way, way, way back when. And we had a conversation on one of the first days, because it was, basically a syllabus day and you just show up and then you leave. But I stayed after, and I had a conversation with the professor who I know pretty well. And we were talking about the Olympics when Simone Biles pulled out of the team competition, or the individual. It was one or the other. I can't remember, but she did it because of
it was a couple of events she pulled out of.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we were talking about like the mental health side of it, and we kind of found a way to like relate it to, that whole philosophy side of, how it's had its like upbringing basically, and kind of where it's at now, and how we're still learning about all that stuff. So that would be something I think in the future. I mean, I feel like it's definitely worth diving into, especially because we all have that time where we're just fried and don't feel like doing it, or sometimes we still do it even though we're just mentally not all there. So that's definitely something that's worth touching on at some point.
I actually went to a camp down in Florida at the Kegel Training Center, and there was all the Kegel coaches, and then Dr. Dean, sports psychologist, works with a lot of professional bowlers, other professional athletes, and there was time to ask some questions. And somebody I don't remember who, but there's like he was like, "What's more important, the mental or the physical game?" And it was really interesting because he said they're both like 100%. There's no like comparison either one. And he was just giving some examples about how like if you're physically 100% but you're not mentally 100%, you're not going to win. And also said how sometimes you're the best bowler in the world and you're like nobody's going to beat you, and that's the most true thing ever. Like Matt yesterday, Matt Dvorsky, he just had it going and there was nobody going to beat him.
Yeah. I don't think it would have mattered who. I don't think even if I would have lost the first game, I don't think it would have made that much of a difference.
Well,
Personally,
and there's days where you barely make the cut and you just like something clicks and you're just win every match. And
yep,
I know
I've had those days.
I did that at a JBST at a bowl against Vater. I didn't win, but I got into the cashers round and shot 250 less than qualifying to make it. Shoot like 650. The pattern was kind of difficult. Vader actually shot 300 that day.
Yeah, it was Broadway.
It was Broadway.
I'm kind of like known to be. I'm kind of known to bowl really well on Broadway every time. Like all of my honor scores come on that. I won state by like a lot. I don't know.
He got the Wes Malott syndrome of his Player of the Year season on the tour. Whenever he pulled on Scorpion, it was like you just couldn't beat him.
Yep, that's me on that pattern pretty much. Yep. But
so back to what I was saying, I shot like 660 in the 3-game cashes round. Managed to go from like 17th to 8th. Had to bowl evaded to the first game of match play and just found something for one game. Ended up.
Didn't you throw the back 8 or something?
It was like
I think it was the
back
7.
It
was close.
Because I know I didn't bowl great like all day. I shot 250 the last game and just found a look on the same pair I shot 250 on that I bowled you on, and they just didn't change much and just like had it going with the purple.
Oh, of course, there you go, perfect. He's on a purple. Why wouldn't he? He's two-handed.
Okay, but I was standing left of 30.
Okay, yeah, he was with his purple. Fair. That was, I think that was my mistake. Is I went from the purple to a reactive ball. I should have like just jumped left and like slow hooked it with the purple.
Purple's good for that. So
purple is just good in general.
That's facts.
You can do anything with it, really.
Just ask Jacob Butcher.
Yeah, there's no sponsor for this show.
Ooh,
but
thought about that.
If there was gonna be one, purple ball, very good.
You know what else? What other ball is very good? We've
Zen
talked
ball
about
good.
it before. Zen ball very good. That ball bailed me out hard yesterday.
Oh, it's bailed me out a couple times. Vader, have you drilled one yet?
I haven't. And you say in our group chat, Vader would be scary with that ball, and I'm like, I don't know.
Well, when you drilled your proton, I thought you were getting the Zen too.
No. I just traded in like one of the nibs that's laying in my room because I always have like 3 or 4 or 5 nibs laying in my room, but they're all
good balls.
Not necessarily. I have a Gravity Evolve from SYC, which I have yet to get rid of. So if you want that, I mean, we could work something out real quick.
Personally, I don't, but maybe somebody on the good old Facebook Marketplace may want one.
Yeah, you never know.
Then I just got this Ordnance C4 from the Midwest Youth Championship a couple weeks ago. And when they discontinued the ProMotion, I grabbed one and I have yet to drill it. Otherwise, I just traded a Honey Badger Revival in.
That's a gold one, right? Like the black and gold one.
Yeah, the purple and gold.
Purple,
Isn't that the one
blue,
that
purple,
that
black, whatever
they
it
gave
is.
away last year at the Midwest
Yep.
Championships?
So it was just sitting in my room for a year, and then I traded it for a Proton with a little cash. And then I had like a Nib IQ Tour and Idle Pearl sitting in my room for a few months, but I drilled those up just before Junior Gold. But yeah.
Speaking
Speaking
of
of nibs,
idols,
do we want to get into the Bobby Habetler situation of new box
um,
titles?
they're right next to me. I don't think I
Of
want to
course they
show them
are.
on
See,
camera.
I
I
feel
don't
like
think I
you
want
just
to show
did that on purpose because you know I want one so bad.
them. Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Mine's dead already. I had it for
Yeah,
years.
that's why I stocked up. They die so quick.
It's all good.
And there's not really a good way to like revive them without drying out the cover.
Yep.
But that company that Cam Hurwitz started with the Magna Bowling products, it looks like the real deal.
I
Have
can't
like
say
Yeah, you should try that on your idols.
I may give them a chance. I may order some and then see. I know that they had a booth at the trade show for Junior Gold. They sounded pretty legit.
They actually sponsor the Wisconsin Youth Bowlers Tour too.
Oh, do they?
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, his
Oh,
brother goes to Purdue, right?
Cameron's brother, Reese, he goes to Purdue, and so does Zach Singer. So I think that's why the connection was made. But he came to a couple of events and set up a booth and whole deal.
That's awesome.
I mean, a lot of people were making jokes about plastic bags and putting your balls in them, but I mean, there has to be some science behind it. I just don't know when to try it, you know?
Yeah. Blaine, you got anything else? You got any
I
last
wanted
thoughts?
to I wanted to go back, and this is, I don't even remember how long ago now, but we asked Vader about some gems and favorite balls of his, and it kind of got me thinking about, me and you a little bit.
I think
Especially
you cut out when he
because, well, and I wanted to ask you because here recently, like whenever we were doing the Michigan practices, I kind of felt like we were reading each other pretty well. And it kind of
Yeah.
got me wondering if, maybe there was something in your past arsenal that, that maybe is something similar to, maybe not like something right now or within the last couple of years, but something maybe like 4 or 5 years ago that might be something similar, just out of curiosity.
as far as me or Vader or both.
Well, I guess I can go both of that.
4 or 5 years ago, I was still throwing 14 pounds, and I threw a lot of urethane then.
Okay.
Back then, we could actually use weight host.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like recently, Web Tour comes with me everywhere.
That's a good one. I had one, and much like my original purple hammer I traded it away stupidly. I did make some money off of it, so I wasn't totally stupid like I was with the purple, but that's a story for another day.
That obviously. The OG High Road, I had a couple good ones.
I did not like the High Road series for me.
I have no proof behind this, but I think they changed something in the formula. Like the old ones actually hooked a ton, and the new ones just feel slimy and don't hook at all anymore.
Yeah, and I wasn't overly into Storm when I got really competitive. My dad actually still had a deal with Motive at the time, so we were pretty much Motive, and maybe a couple oddballs here and there. But whenever I did finally get my hands on, I actually had a High Road Pearl first, and about a year after that, I had an OG High Road. and they just both felt like they were just too clean for me. Never really saw anything in the middles. They just wanted to get like it was almost like a plastic ball in the first 45 feet, and then it just wanted to go
tries to go
stupid
dead left.
sideways.
Yeah.
So not something I like to see. I like to see the lean front to back, not side to side.
Yeah, like that's a ball that's very service dependent.
Yeah, I mean I could see why very quickly.
Yeah. Vader, you got anything about that? Any of the balls that you just magically click with?
You said 4 or 5 years ago, and I just think about 4 or 5 years ago, I was still rolling the ball at like 12, 13 miles an hour.
Mhm.
So
Me too.
I'd carry like 2 or 3 plastic balls with me to like my high school matches, and that's all I threw.
Maybe that's why you're so good with plastic.
Yeah, I mean, I
Just
won.
soft with it. You can get the hook.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
He's got the
that
touch.
was my thing. That was my thing. I was mostly focused on my touch and being smooth, and I didn't really build up ball speed until like junior. Like we'll see with a plastic ball, not just a plastic ball. But just like this, like 30-year-old Columbia white dot, like literally from like the 80s and 70s.
Like the first time they came out.
Yep. And then
talk about gems.
Yeah. And then I mean, I used that ball at junior gold on the short pattern in 2019, and I shot like 850. I was like 6th after day 1 or something.
On that pattern, that's a really good score. That pattern was brutal.
Yeah. I was second on my squad, but I don't really know. I don't know. Phase 2, I've had 2 of those. I've had 2 IQ tours. I've had 2 idle pearls.
We're not going to get how many multiple balls I have, but we're just not getting.
Yeah. I mean,
many.
So
I don't care to share.
Yeah, the IQ tour, I guess that's always like been a good benchmark ball for me. And I've heard like one-handers, they're not big fans of it, but like as a two-hander, I mean, it's just something like it's kind of on the, it's kind of like
the cover's weak enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's kind of on the lower end that it's good for me. I know Bobby isn't a fan of them at all, and he
I like
said,
the
like the same better. He said the same thing about like the high roads. Like I told him I'm gonna get another IQ tour, and he's like, oh, they changed something. They're like slimy, and I'm like, well, I mean, it worked out.
Yeah. I actually, so about a year ago now, well, I guess you could say my freshman year of school, so 2 years. So our school has a sponsorship through Storm. I had a few hit or miss balls from like Storm Roto beforehand, but I never was like primarily dedicated to, throwing them basically. I would say within the last 5 years. Go ahead.
Is that contract extended to global now too? Now that they own
I believe so.
Or
I believe so. I'd have to check on the details, but I believe so. I would go back to my summer of 2018, and just like a little 10-week summer league deal. I managed to shoot 869 and 300 games. And the 860 night was with at the time it had been plugged. It was a rotogrip wrecker drilled pin down. Originally had it drilled pin up, and I didn't. It was just not what I wanted. It was just something.
That's
I
the gold and white and black one, right?
It was just blue and white. The other one you're thinking of is the Reckham, I think. The Reckham.
No, the Wreck-It is yellow and the Wreck-It.
Yeah. I haven't had any of those. That one is, we drilled a pin up. And actually, believe it or not, it was drilled in a layout that I use a lot now, but I didn't really like it then, at least not on that ball anyway. It almost just kind of like the high road deal. It just kind of felt like it was too clean. It would still pick up in the middle enough compared to what those would, but it just seemed like it was too lazy still. Um, so I went and re-drilled it, pinned down, and I mean by default that makes it pick up quicker or read the lane sooner. So immediately I kind of knew it was something I was gonna like. I didn't think I was gonna do that with it, but it came out to be probably one of, if not my favorite one of all time. And then shortly after that, in weeks 8 and 9 of that league, I shot 300 both of those weeks with a Brunswick Melee Cross, and that's the teal one. That is one ball that if I could find 4 more of and just stash them, that's exactly what I would do. Because at the time I had it as a Christmas present the winter before that, and they were like $40 a ball on sale. My dad only bought one, or he bought two. He sold one for the shop and bought one for me. And he's like, damn, I missed out on that. I should have bought every damn one they had. There were like 30 of them at the time.
Does he own a pro shop?
He doesn't now. He just coincides it.
Okay.
Works in one with Dave, the guy up at Twin. Basically, what happened with that is he started his own with a buddy of his that went down to Kentucky at the Powerhouse School of Drilling, basically, and they had their own little deal for a little bit. And then once that center actually closed, they kept like the shop technically open, but it wasn't run out of a bowling center anymore. It was like out of a buddy's basement or a buddy's garage or down in Monticello at a different place or something like that. So it got to be a little bit of a mess. So he pulled out of that deal. And then he got in touch with Dave over at Twin, basically just asked him one day, like, hey, I know we've, met each other in the past, blah, 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 all the small talk. And can we basically just, use your shop for a day or two? I got some people that, I had over there that need stuff done. They don't want to make the drive all the way to, I think it was El Paso or El Monticello. So that's kind of how we got started over there. I would say those two stick out to me immediately anyway, simply just because of success I've had with them. I actually have another 300 game with that same record on in a Woodhouse actually. I would say right now, I really, really, really like my Zen. I really, really like my Phase 2. I actually just got the other Phase 2 from you and Idle Pro. Still in my car, by the way. Before I had the Phase 2, I guess it's right around the same time, actually. I was really throwing the Rubicon UC2 really, really well on just like a league pattern kind of thing. At the time, that's all I was really bowling on for a while. It was really, really good. The oddball for me, I think that most people wouldn't think about is way, way back when Radical first got going under the Brunswick deal, like before they became like the big brands or whatever you want to call it. There was just like them, Brunswick and DV8. They came out with one of their first asymmetrical balls was a Reax Pearl, and my dad had one. I never had one like as my own, but he had one. And he recently, like in the last couple of years, dropped weight to 14. So he had this just kind of sitting around. He was like, hey, do you want it? And I said, oh, what the hell? It's a free ball. Might as well. So we punched it up, and I've had a lot of success and just on like league with that ball, though. Not so much in tournaments. It's just not quite what I need for a tournament bag anyway. Just too old a technology, I feel like, for the cover. The core is definitely strong enough, but the cover is just a little too weak. And even with surface, it doesn't really help it. But I've shot 300 with that ball before. I actually ball changed to it one night. I went like 202, ball changed to that ball, and then went 250, 300. So I missed twice after I switched to it that night. And that was on a Tuesday night, and that Sunday previous, I actually shot 300 down at Springfield at the ISST stop with a promotion, believe it or not. So I had 2 of them in 3 days, and yeah, I was upset with the 300 down in Springfield though, because I couldn't keep my. It was in game 2 of match play, so I couldn't keep my 6-game score. I guess I wouldn't have kept it anyway, but I wish I could have, because then I'd have another 800 in my name instead of just 2. I'd have 3 now. So I was a little upset
Alrighty.
about that.
So, Vader, thanks for coming on. You got any thank yous, any last words? We kind of went over time a little bit.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Not a big
sorry.
deal.
Well, I mean, I don't really have anything else, I guess. Thanks for having me.
No
Sorry about
problem.
those
Yep.
technical
It was
difficulties.
very, very nice to have you on as the very first guest of the show.
It was a good time. It's nice to be able to talk to you for the first time, Blaine.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we'll see each other at some point down the road.
For sure.
I plan on bowling quite a bit of scholarship stuff this year, so I got to pay my semester bill, so I got to come up with money somehow.
Yes.
All right. Hope to see you soon.
Alrighty.
Hopefully some Wisconsin stuff.
Probably this weekend then.
Yeah, this weekend I'll
Right,
see you.
dog?
Yeah, I'll be there. Wauwatosa.
Oh,
You
All right.
guys have fun with that, and best of luck. I'm going to take the weekend off and get my stuff back together here. So good luck, guys.
Thanks, you too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Blaine.
Yep. Always,
Thanks,
buddy.
guys.